Hi everyone,
Okay.
welcome to D4 Data channel podcast on the topic sustainable water resources management. And with me we have Miss Khushbu K Birawat, and she's an environmentalist and been active in this particular domain on water resources management. And she is a teaching faculty and she handles different subjects in environmental science. And currently, she is being part of different water resources management project, and really happy to be part of this, Kushbu. Thanks for
Thank you so
yeah.
much. Thank you so much.
So I have a couple of questions for you today. And so, since you have worked a lot in Bangalore water resources management, so the first question is, what are the primary challenges you faced while handling those kind of water resource management projects in Bangalore, especially?
So, the primary challenge of what comes as a researcher or an academician is basically we want to understand historically how it was, right? And then try to work upon what didn't work and what is the gap and how we can fill that gap. So, for example, when I say I want to work on water resources of Bangalore, there are a lot of issues. Specifically, if I want to deal with wastewater treatment or wastewater management, then what is the wastewater quantity which is being generated in Bangalore? I need to know that. So, that is taken care by WSSB. What is the wastewater quantity which is being treated? So that records has to be present in STP. So getting access to those records as a researcher or as an academician and being able to utilize it is one challenge. But even before that is these records are not available. So unavailability of the reference data or reference resources is one of the biggest challenges, and awareness regarding what is available, what is not available, and how do we access it, and the decentralized way of a lot of institutions working on different aspects of water, and there is no a central connection from where we can get all this information. So that has been the biggest challenge for our team as of now.
Got it, got it. So when you said about the data requirements, so like what exact type of data or what format of data is being useful for an efficient water management system program like this, which you mentioned?
Okay, so the first and the foremost data which comes into mind is the climate, basically the weather data of a local region. So say rainfall data. Daily rainfall data matters a lot if we want to talk about any of the flood events which are happening. So why is it happening, on which day it is happening historically? So we need 30 to 40 years data, daily data. If hourly it's present, it's even better. But at least daily data is what we want. So we have KSNM DMC who is recording this type of data. But for Bangalore, we could just find 4 stations. But KSNM DMC do have 100 plus stations all over Bangalore and Karnataka as a whole. So getting that data with the minimal cost or free for people to use is a challenge. That is the first thing. So climate weather data is something which is very important for us to understand the rainfall pattern as well as what is the water available from the rainfall for this region. Second comes along with rainfall, all the other parameters like temperature, humidity, sunshine hours matters a lot. Then comes water supply, because we are just not dependent on rainfall. Actually, we are not at all dependent on rainfall except for our groundwater replenishment. In Bangalore, we are just letting it go, except for a few rainwater harvesting initiatives taken by a lot of institutions as well as individuals. Centrally, there is no system in place which by which we are using rainwater. Although BWSSB has a mandate that so and so house rooftop should have, or the institution should have a rainwater harvesting system, it's not really enforced in 100% enforcement. We can't even expect that, but at least enforcement is really not that high. So, first is the nature data. The second one comes the water which we are bringing in from Kaveri. That data, although we know like we are getting around 530 or even more than that mlt of water, and it is being given to the entire city, what we don't have is access to that information, like the frequent or the proper record of it which we can utilize for some useful purposes. We don't have it. It's just a lump sum amount. And then we have a lump sum amount of what is the leakages, so we don't have that metering. So second is the water which we are getting from outside other than rainfall. And the third one is we are supplying that water. Yes, how much is being actually supplied? That metering is not provided to us. The next parameter comes is wastewater, how much it is being generated, how much it is being recycled and gone back into the loop. So that data becomes very important to us. And then groundwater levels, how it was in the past, how it has reduced, and whether it has increased or not. So most of the researchers about around Bangalore, if you see specific to Bangalore, everything is a ballpark number, like an estimate. So it can be a general estimations through various equations which we do, or it can be modeling analysis, a little better way of doing it. But everything which can be maintained as a proper data point is not being maintained. So there is no system of maintaining or acquiring it, or at least measuring what they are doing. So if those things can be put in place and made accessible for people like us, or even citizens would like to know how much is in their ward or in their locality water being used, how can they reduce the consumption. So that becomes very useful in understanding how do we manage those water resources.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. So basically, there is a lack of governance around this particular data collection and everything.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I think you mentioned a little bit about it. So, what we have currently and what we had in the past, I think much of the things might have improved over the time period actually. So, do you see any chance of improvement or like where it's heading to in terms of data collection and gathering?
So in terms of data collection and gathering, I understand like past 2.5 years we have been working on this, and I understand that there is substantial amount of uh, data points being collected. For example, I mentioned KSN and DMC, they have really good network of it. BWSSP, they're doing everything to GIS layers, but metering, I don't know at what level it is because we are not able to access the data. And then comes to records, like for example sewage treatment plant, what is the water which has come in, what is the water which has been treated and go out. I think they do have these points, but um, the transparency with which this is supposed to be there for the researchers, academicians, users, private citizens is not there. So I think improvement in availability of the data, maybe at a minimal cost, or the transparency of the data is missing, where the improvement can happen when it comes to data collection and provisioning it.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So when we talk about rejuvenation process, so what all design approaches we have for a sustainable rejuvenation process currently?
So when we say rejuvenation, a lot of CSR projects you would have seen focus on lake rejuvenation projects. So a lake is beautified and everything, but then most of the times after 3, 4, or 5 years, when you go back, you see there is again eutrophied lake, excessive nutrients, and then the lake is again being damaged, and then reworking again is required. So the cycle is just like circular, it is going, we are not like finishing it, and there is no sustainable process. This is happening especially in Bangalore because I feel the storm drains which are connected to the lakes, which bring in the water to these lakes, are not rejuvenated. So when it comes to sustainable rejuvenation, you have to look at it from the systems principles, systems approach, where I understand from where is the water coming to this current lake, are the upstream lakes rejuvenated? Are the storm drains which are connected, is there a connection for the water to actually flow and come to this lake? So when it comes to lake management, yes, this can be one of the principles where we look at the entire body of the lake, not just a part which is the lake itself. Second, when we talk about water resources management, we are always understanding, okay, this is our demand, and we have to supply this much water to public, like people. So there is this famous aboriginal story which says about the frog Tidalik. So Tidalik is a very thirsty frog, and he drinks up the water, all the water which is there in the forest, and then all the other trees, birds, animals suffer because of lack of water. And then they do a lot of dramas and make Tidalik laugh, and then all the water gushes out, and everyone is happy then. But in our story of Bangalore, what is happening is we have become the Tidalic, that we have taken water from through various stages, from Kaveri, from Arkavati. Arkavati dried up. Now Kaveri also, we are like, we don't know what we are going to do about it. Again, more and more stages of projects. A lot of millions are being spent on those projects. And then we are also looking at Ettinahole, Netravati, all those different projects. So the thing is, Bangalore is such a Tidalic which is always going to look out for other places and bring in the water, and it's not satisfied with its thirst ever. But we did have a lot of lakes within the city itself. So when the first centralized way of water supply, which was needed for safe drinking water supply or provisioning for a city, started from Kaveri, even before that Arkavati, that is when we lost the touch with our own lakes, our own decentralized way of water supply. And then lakes started getting deteriorating, pollution became rampant, and we just forgot about it. Recently there was an article in news that a lot of places in Karnataka, villages in Karnataka, including outskirts of Bangalore, have found, the researchers have found uranium in it, and they say that this is because the groundwater, for groundwater, we have dug so deep, that the wells are so deep that because of natural processes itself, uranium is present, and we shouldn't be going so deep. So what is the hint they are providing us is, let us have shallow groundwater levels, let us utilize that groundwater, but also keep replenishing it so that we don't have to go that deep, because it becomes useless nevertheless. So, so when we say sustainable, so lakes are our lung spaces for Bangalore, and also they provide for the city people basically the recreational grounds. So why don't we look at rejuvenating the lake as well as decentralizing the use or the supply of water from these lakes? So although this looks like uh, too impossible, but come on, we are advancing so much in the IT sector. So they say through the waves, we have completed the IT wave, then the data wave, and now we are in the data sustainability wave. So when we are in the sustainability wave as a globe, this shouldn't be very ambitious. Shouldn't we come all come together and think of a way of utilizing our own lung spaces for recreational plus water supply, and then rejuvenating the groundwater in the long run? So it is high time, like, our generation starts doing it. But it again starts with talking more about it, creating more awareness about it, yes, but taking up such projects in a large scale. So I think stronger stakeholders like the government and the people who are giving money for CSR projects think in these directions.
Got it, got it. That's a pretty good insight actually. So, yeah, so you did mention about like, so we rejuvenate a particular lake and then all the cleaning activities are done. So again, it's actually going through a cycle, and after 2 3 years, it's again the contamination is happening in that particular site. So, is there any kind of monitoring program that can be actually designed, or like is it there currently to kind of monitor these kind of issues basically?
So, um, when we say monitoring of it, the only thing which comes to everyone's mind is pollution monitoring. So, what is the water quality which we are either drinking, or the water quality of the lakes which is existing, or the water quality of groundwater? For example, you told about rejuvenation process. So it's maybe it's a CSR project or it's a government project taken up, done for 2 3 years, and then closed. So a very less agencies keep a track of it, like what is happening after 5 years, 10 years, is it still existing or not? So again, a long-term approach of people or a team who is taking up this initiative. So, at a very high level, when they do sign MOUs or when they initiate these projects itself, they should have a long term process of coming back and looking whether what we worked on is still existing or it needs changes or not. So that is one aspect. Second aspect of quality monitoring, it is happening through pollution control boards, but that is again not a very transparent way, so we don't know what are the data points they are monitoring and what is the quality. So again, Bangalore being a IT city which has such great infrastructure, why don't we have everything online, right? Whatever they are monitoring, at least the basic parameters which are mandated by themselves to be transparent, let us have it online with good frequency, with the long term approach. So we need spatial and temporal resolution to be very fine. So that is required really. um, I know there is a lot of debate on why do people need to know about all these nitty gritties. We are living, like according to our constitution itself, we should be able to have good scientific temperament such that the individuals are good citizens. So to enhance that scientific temperament, we are knowledgeable citizens. If you give us all this data, maybe in our day to day activities we will try to make changes, or we will take our local issues and work on it. For example, a lot of NGOs especially are working on local community levels and trying to fix their own issues. For example, if my area, in New Delhi, especially when I went to New Delhi, there I saw an architect. She took up upon herself to involve the entire community to make a local rainwater harvesting plan, and all the issues which used to come due to stormwater logging and everything just vanished, and they have used their own parks to replenish the groundwater, and the level rose and everything. So when she had access to such kind of information, but she had to run a lot to figure these things out and execute it. But if we can have it with just a click of a button, and then our time and energy can be spent in actually executing this stuff instead of again figuring out everything from the scratch. So that is where I find any of the monitoring programs to be long term and to be very fine in terms of what they're exactly doing, to be like it should be available for feedback from other people, because at large citizens or people really do want to see good things. They are good people, and that is what I inherently believe. And there may be some miscreants, but just because someone is not following something or someone is going to create havoc, we can't stop doing good things, right? So it should be available and we can work on it.
Great, great. Yeah, true. Because right now, as you said, like there is so much technical advancements, and there is high time that all of these things should be implemented actually by now.
Correct.
So yeah, so when you spoke about this geospatial approach or integrated geospatial approach for water management, so what exactly it is and how it is kind of implemented, and what are the hurdles for it actually?
So this integrated geospatial approach for sustainable water management is a ISRO funded project. So Indian Space Research Organization, they do have a response scheme through which they fund those kind of activities or events where GIS or geographical information systems, which uses their satellite products. So they use so we can use the satellite products or GIS to solve societal issues. So for example, when we approach them with the with the project to understand holistically what exists in Bangalore in terms of water resources, and a plan, even including policy changes which can come into picture for using lakes as a decentralized source of supply. They really took interest into it, and then with a local agency like a regional remote sensing center south, which is a part of ISRO, NRSC. So it is available. So they connected us through them, and we are now working on this project. It's a 3-year project. 2 years have passed by. Six more, I mean, one more year is left, and we are through with our understanding of our first three objectives. But we have a long way to go because we have still just grasped the situation. We have just outlined what has to be done, but actually preparing detailed project reports of what can be done and what can be executed is a long way for us to go.
Okay, got it, got it. So, when you said about the technologies involved in this one, like you did mention about GIS software and everything. So, like, is there any other tools or frameworks or what it's actually being used in this particular project?
So basically, what we, like I mentioned previously, all the water resources related data, all that we have collected from various agencies, but we need to have a visual understanding of it or a visual look of it. So what we use is ArcGIS software to understand it, and its similar version, which is a free version, is QGIS. So that is available for everyone to use. So we do have access to ArcGIS, so we are using that. We have AirDAS Imagine for satellite image processing. So we use such tools um, to understand, like when you put something in perspective of space and when you put something in perspective of time, it builds a story, right? So we are understanding that story through these tools and frameworks, easy for us to comprehend basically. And also when everything is in terms of maps and then the Excel tables, we are able to manipulate the data and then visualize it, or we are able to see what is the micro watershed. All our boundaries are administrative boundaries, like so BBMP wards are there, 198 wards. And now although BBMP area has increased by 4 square kilometers, so all that where it has increased, and uh, that is available through administration side. But when we talk about water resources, our boundaries are not administrative but micro watersheds or sub watersheds or the complete watersheds. When you talk about Bangalore, it's KC Valley, Hebbal Valley, Vrishabhavati Valley, and Arkavati Valley, a small part of it. And then there is Hosakere also at the end of it. So when we understand in terms of sub watersheds, we actually know how much water is being utilized, how much is going to the lakes, how much is going to the ground, and then we can study that better.
Got it, got it. So, when you said about the databases, like, you did mention about like couple of databases. So, like, what kind of data it contains? Is it more kind of like numbers or like textual data or image data? What exactly are these databases basically?
So when we talk about the database, let me just take example of the data and tools we utilize in our project. So first, we have the ancillary data like the rainfall data from the telemetric rain gauge stations of KSNM DMC, which we have obtained. And then we have all the shape files which we have obtained with the help of KSAR, SAC, and Regional Remote Sensing Center, RRSC. And then the water resources related data which we have obtained from BWSSB, Department of Mines and Geology, Central Groundwater Board, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. So this becomes all the numbers data or all the shape files. Shape files are nothing but one of the formats which we use in our geospatial software tools. Um, which has all the information in the point, polygon, line format, and all its attributes are available. The other part comes is the satellite data. So we use digital elevation model, that is cartosat dem data or srtm temp data, the difference between them being the resolution with which they are available. Then there is landsat, sentinel, list4 data, which we have used for creating the land use land cover pattern over the years in the city of Bangalore. And then we have rainfall data from IMERG and CHIPS project, and those kind of satellite data we use. So we have meteorological data, and then land use land cover data and elevation data from satellites which we use. Okay. And all this we can analyze or we can interpret what is happening there, modify or manipulate using ArcGIS software, ArcSWAT software. So SWAT is a really helpful software for us to understand the entire water balance of the city, watershed wise. So that we do, we use Google Earth Pro, we use Google Earth Engine, and also other water quality modeling softwares. So uh, what we have understood as of now is there is a lot of there are a lot of tools for us to understand the interactions, for us to take the action, but the source data, which is the measured data, is still not very is not very continuous, is not very fine, or we don't have the proper data with which we can actually ascertain what we have got the results from model actually is equal, or we can't validate it through the ground results. So that has been the biggest problem for us.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So, coming on to the actual use case which you are actually mentioning, or the project which you are working. So, you did mention about couple of objectives here. So, if you can detail each one of it, and what exactly are you targeting with each of these objectives?
Okay, so the bottom line is very simple for us. Our vision is over through our studies, and then hopefully through execution of at least part of these studies. Like there's a lot of field work yet to be done, but a lot of field work has already happened. So the bottom line is, can we use the water which is falling in my place in the local region and supply it to the local people? So we really don't want global solutions. We need global thinking, yes, but as a Bangalorean in Namma Bengaluru, how do we use a lake water to supply to local people, and what is the plan to go ahead, or to at least rejuvenate the groundwater to such extent through these lakes or the lung spaces, and supply it to water and reduce our dependence on Kaveri water or any other water resources which we get from far off places. Because thinking 60, 70, 100 years down the line, it does not seem sustainable to go and bring the water from far off places, and it does not seem sensible to put that pressure on the next generation and to believe that they will be able to find a better solution. So we need to work towards finding the solution and executing it in our lifetimes. So that is our goal. So the first objective is, when we have such a simple goal but it looks impossible and lofty, so first we need to understand water availability, what is there in Bangalore. Then comes to whether I can use the available rainwater for water supply, and can I use it for potable water supply. So when it comes to drinking water supply, the quality of water matters a lot, or else we'll have a lot of health issues. So how do we plan and execute that? That becomes a big thing there. So can we have a pilot plant which so the primary goal after the study of this project will be a pilot execution. So can we look towards that? Can we have a community who works on all these principles? Because how much ever we study, there will always be practical problems, right? So there is no general template for these things. But as Bangalore as a whole, as watersheds or sub watersheds which we are working on, can we work out solutions for it? And what we have understood it, when there is a policy intervention, when it is mandated by the government, or when government says that no, this is the way we have to do, as it happens with rainwater harvesting structures, a lot of people got to know about it when it becomes mandatory. So how can we bring one or two such interventions which will help in sustainably conserving water resources in Bangalore? So those four objectives, along with two other objectives of understanding, if you're using lakes as primary storage, then how much water dependency will reduce on extracting the water from outside our local space. So those simulations we want to run, because as you know, today everything is data, and then people want to know, if I go ahead with line thinking one, what will happen, second case what will happen, third case what will happen, we lay it out like in climate change scenarios, business as usual interventions, and then green interventions, what is happening. So in the long term, whether we will save on it, or what is the cost benefit analysis of it, not just in terms of economy but also in terms of environment. So those are the things which we want to look at. But everything is available for us to execute scientifically on paper, yes, but how do we do it on field is a challenge which we are facing, and we are talking to a lot of stakeholders beyond our own academia, and trying to understand where can we start executing these things.
Great, great. That's actually great to know a lot of things about your project. And yeah, so is it something like it will be targeted to kind of a closure in the near future, or like is it an ongoing one?
No, we want to close it because it's a study, right?
Mm.
So we want to close it within the next 1 year, and after that, whatever information which we have collected through this project, we want to put it online. So we will be creating a website where all the results which we have got from our study, plus availability of all the resources which we have used, that where they can access from, and what is it open online, or whether they have to go meet the individuals to get it. Everything will be put up online, and then we look for stakeholders, or we look for collaborations where we can start executing things on field. So we will do update the website with all our projects which will be upcoming, but as a academic study we want to close it within next 1 year, and because we want to um, not just be on paper, we want to have something on field. That's the goal, and hopefully working towards it.
True, I agree actually. So thanks a lot actually for giving such a great explanation on the projects and about this whole process basically, because most of the people are not aware of the end-to-end cycle behind water resource management actually. So thanks for it, and yeah, I wish all the best for your project and hope it get well soon. And yeah, and thanks a lot for being here today in this particular podcast, sharing your ideas and your understanding about this whole topic. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Deepak. And to be honest, even I wasn't aware of all these things before I embarked on a journey to actually study it. So that's why when I say we all, or whoever wants to get into solving some societal issue or solving some environmental issue, is supposed to start with the scratch, from scratch, again and again. So if we have to really make quick progress, then everything, all the information should be available in one place for people to make right decisions very quickly. So we had one of the very eminent personalities in our campus. So he mentioned this sentence: these kind of academic studies and researchers help the administration or administrative position, whoever is holding it, take timely and quick decisions. So what we understand is the years which we spend on doing all these activities will compile such good information for them to take quick action. But we cannot always depend on them. So can we have it for the people? Let just people, whoever is interested, come forward and take action. So that is somewhere we have to go ahead with.
Great, great. Yeah, that's actually true. That's true, because let people take the ownership in handling these kind of things, and slowly it will build up in that pace basically. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it's we can kind of wind up this particular session with this particular thought. And thanks a lot once again, Kushbu, for
Thank you.
being in
Thank you.
this session and sharing all the details. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.